Hello, Ms. Fisher, sixth period class. We're with Mr. Bill Ollinger here, and we're going to do our interview. Creed, what you got for us first question?
All right, Mr. Bill, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Bill Ollinger. Live here in Formosa, Arkansas, and I've got these two young men coming around going to ask me some questions. And Creed, go ahead, or whoever's first there.
All right,
I'll try to answer them as best I can.
when and where were you born at?
1939, in Gideon, Missouri, was my birthplace. I was born on the banks of a drainage ditch in southeast Missouri, which was there in Gideon, in a tar paper shack in sharecroppers' farm, you might say. My dad raised cattle, and he was a sharecropper also.
Did you have any siblings?
No, we didn't. I was the only one.
What are some things you enjoyed doing when you were growing up?
Oh, I liked to rabbit hunt, and I'd get on those ditches, those drainage ditches back there in the cotton fields, and take my little beagle and get with my cousins, and we'd run them rabbits all over the place.
Where did you attend school at?
I attended school in Acorn Ridge, Missouri to begin with, a little old schoolhouse. We had a wood stove and had a teeter-totter, and we had a merry-go-round, and our favorite game was ante-over, and that's where you took the ball and throwed it over the schoolhouse, and one team on one side and one on the other.
What all were you involved with when you were in school? Like any sports or activities?
Later I went to Kennett High School in Kennett, Missouri. And when I was in high school, that's where I started, was there, and I played football, and I did some track in junior high, and I really enjoyed it. I was tackle on the football team. We had a pretty good season, my last season. My junior year, I think we lost all but one. But in the 12th grade, I got up to my senior year, we throwed it on there. We brought home the bacon now. I think we lost one game only. Had 10-1. Won 10 and lost 1.
Your school. What was your senior year like in school?
I made the honor roll. I got what we called a Lions Award. Several, if you had back then we had E's, S and M and I and L, I think, or L and I. Was our grades, but I got a Lions Award. I had an S average and everything, and I had worked for that 3 years, and I always wanted to get a Lions Award, which is just really a certificate. And I did. I made it my senior year. My senior year, we had, like I say, we had a good football team. All the boys kind of grew up together, and we had put an effort together. We got a new coach, and coaches mean a lot now. A good coach. We got a good one that year, or the year before, and worked it up. And like I say, we won. Just having a fellowship with those other friends of mine that was playing football it's a good experience. And like I say, I still have contact with some of them today. I never thought I would after we graduated, but time does pass now, and eventually, like I say, I showed you a picture over a while ago. That's my football team in that picture over there. And, had a bunch of pretty good boys there, and I think I remembered all their names. And I put that picture together about 10 years ago, got it out and put it together. I also got chosen to go to Missouri Boys State when I was a junior. and I really enjoyed that. It's kind of politics and so forth. I was elected fire chief. I was elected county sheriff. And, we had a lot of fun there. It was, of course, we were supervised by college professors, and it was at Warrensburg, Missouri. And I really enjoyed that. If you smoked back then, you had on the campus there, you had to strip your cigarettes, and that's tear them off, and then strip that filter up. You throw it on the ground. If you throwed it on the ground and it wasn't stripped, and the county sheriff come along to arrest you, and then you'd have to go to court. But that's Missouri Boys State. Boys State here's probably the same way. I don't know that they let you smoke. But I went to school with I went to Boys State with Stan Musial. I don't know if you're not acquainted with him, but you know who Stan Musial was.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah,
Cardinals.
he was a Cardinals boy. You bet that was Stan with his son, Stanley. But that was, I really enjoyed Missouri Boys State. I enjoyed school. Of course, like I say, I had to work my way through. And it can be done a lot of times when you have circumstances in life that you don't think you could say they feel, don't think you can overcome, in other words. Just keep plugging, and you will. You'll make it. I did. If I can make it, anybody that's in a position like that, they can make it too. Won 10 and lost 1. I enjoyed it. You guys play football. I know you enjoy it too.
What event did you do in track?
I did the 440 mainly.
Yeah.
I win a few,
Yeah.
and I lose a few.
I know Creed likes to do the mile over here.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject really was biology. I just enjoyed my biology class, and I like math.
Yeah.
Very good. In fact, I like most of my subjects, but my favorite was biology.
What were some funny things you and your friends did when you were growing up?
Oh gee, we had a lot of funny things. After football practice, we'd go out and steal watermelons and have a bridge party to get our girlfriends and take the watermelons and the girlfriends and go to a bridge around on them ditches and turn up the radio and eat watermelon and
There you go.
do a little dancing.
Who were some of your best friends growing up?
Oh gee, I had several. I can't remember all of them. I just got a Christmas card today from one of them. His name is Doug Broadway. We played football together, and he lives in Alaska. I thought when I graduated from high school I'd never see anyone again. And you're my classmates, but they come up with a computer, and now I can communicate with them.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of them have passed on, but I can still communicate with the 3 or 4 boys that I played football with now, and that's I really enjoy that.
What was your childhood like?
Well, I had a kind of a rough childhood. I lost my parents when I was my dad when I was 18 months old, and then when I was 8 years old, I lost my mother, and I kind of had to work in the cotton fields and go to school. We used to get cotton vacations, and back there in school would let out, you know. And I pretty much made my own way from 8 years old till from there on. I had to work, but it didn't hurt me. I'm glad I got to work. Yeah, but I pretty much made my own way.
What was your first car?
My first car was that I owned was a 47 Plymouth, and I bought it when I was in the military in Boston, Massachusetts. I bought it from an old couple. There was an American Legion sticker on the back of it, and I I put a Budweiser draft knob on the gear shift and put me a Ford radio in there, and I put about 6,000 miles on it.
Who taught you how to drive?
Oh, let's see. I had a friend I was telling you about there. That's one that's in Alaska now, that I just got a Christmas card from. His folks had I think it was a 47 Nash, and he was trying to get his driver's license, and I was trying to get mine, and we practiced in that old 47 Nash. We drove it down to the courthouse and took our test, and we passed.
Good.
So,
Deal. What made you want to join the military?
I didn't have the means of going to college at that time. I probably could have. I could have worked myself through, but I decided to join the military, and I had worked at a grocery store for quite a while as a sacker, and then they put me in the meat department, and I enjoyed that, but I just wanted to get my military experience over with. And of course they teach you a trade when you're in the military, so I took the test. I wanted to go to officer candidate school, and I didn't pass the test. I missed it, they said, by 1 point. But anyway, I said, well, I'll just go ahead and enlist in the regular Air Force. And that's what I did. I went the regular Air Force. I spent, that may be in your question that you have there, I spent 14 weeks in basic training in Lackland, Texas. Anyway, from there I got to ship out to Boston, Massachusetts for 2 years. A real good assignment there. It was a research and development site, and I was only a cook. I made a high score on electronics, but they were taking all the electronics high scores, and they had a need in the food service field, so they made me a cook. And I cooked for some scientists. These, like I say, research and development was, they had a bunch of scientists with high IQs, and we was working on putting a man on the moon. And had a small part to do with that. And I always say that's my claim to fame. Well, we had MIT at this state where I was stationed. It was a research and development base. And we had MIT out of Massachusetts, Boston. All their offices were there were on the base, and we had scientists that worked for MIT, and they had offices. And I never will forget that I was offered a job. I like to do odd jobs on the side of being, my military obligations, to make a little extra money to pay insurance on that 47 Plymouth I bought, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, somebody offered me a job with cleaning the offices, a night crew to clean those offices, and I wouldn't take it. I didn't. You see, these guys that work in those offices, they got high IQs, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
They're what you call a genius.
Yeah.
They'd be like Elon Musk, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
They're real smart. And if they run across a problem and they can't solve it, it gets to them. And I would say, I'll just say periodically they'd find someone that would take their life. And those people that are so smart in those buildings, they'd find them at night. The crew, when the cleaning crew would go in, they'd find them. And that wasn't for me. I said, no, I don't want a job like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to give credit to all those, what you might call people with high IQs. I'll give them credit. But sometimes it get to them by you can be too smart sometimes for your own good. But those guys were trying to figure out how to put a man on the moon. That's what they were there for, working with MIT. And we worked in cahoots with Cape Canaveral at that time down in Florida. I guess it's Cape Kennedy now. So what, they changed the name from Canaveral to Kennedy. But that's one thing that I do remember from. And, 2 or 3 years later, that we did put a man on the moon. And it was in July of, I forget the year when it was, but anyway, that was a night that I was baptized. I'd made a profession of faith and I needed to be baptized, and that's the night that we picked, and I was baptized on the night they first landed on the moon.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So were you stationed? You were stationed in.
I was stationed there. I was shipped out from Massachusetts to Alaska, and it was a good assignment too. I was on the DEW line, early warning, defense early warning line, up in Alaska, close to Russia. I was only 250 miles from Russia, but that was back during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And we was watching the Russians. They were trying to ship rockets and missiles to Cuba. Well, Cuba's only 90 miles from Florida, and we couldn't let that happen. And that's the closest we've ever came to a nuclear war, if you look the history up on that. But we did. We turned the Russians back, and we was just a radar site. And I was also a cook up there. I cooked for 7 men, and one of the big radar bubbles, you've seen them, I know pictures of them. There was 7 of us lived on top of an old inactive volcano. And we had the radar screen up there, and it was going around, and we was watching Russia. And we overlapped. We had different sites up there. It was called the DEW line, and we watched Russia. Our radar overlapped. We had constant observance of what Russia was doing. Of course, they would always test us out. They'd come in close and get in our radar, and we'd have to call in, and we had planes that could be up in 3 minutes and run them back. And we had a couple of occasions we did, but we kept the radar running for three consecutive years while I was 1 year, 12 months. And I left there, I left Alaska, and I took an early out. So altogether, I was in the military about 9 years.
What rank were you in the military?
I started out as basic training, as a basic rank, airman, second class, or airman 3rd class. Then I got to 2nd class, and just before I left the Air Force, I was airman 1st class, which was 3 stripes at that time. I think it's probably considered a sergeant now. I didn't want to stay in. I enjoyed it very much. To me, it was better than a college education. And that I don't know, of course, like I say, I couldn't afford to go to college, but this turned out to be real good for me. I know I have some benefits now by being in the military on my medications and my health. I get my medications through the VA, and I also have other needs for my health that they help me with. And I need that at my age now, which I am 85 years old, going on 86.
So, what are some things you remember most about being in the military?
We had fun in Boston. I remember that's a Revolutionary War country, and I did I did several trips, deep sea fishing. I fished in the Concord River, and I caught catfish. They call the catfish up there, it's a different word than we use. It's a hornpout. And of course the crappie, we got crappie here. They got calico bass, same thing. You know, so. But I enjoyed that. I enjoyed hunting, and I did some fishing in Alaska. When the snow would start melting and the streams would come down and run into the Bering Sea, the salmon would run, and we'd go snag salmon. We had a triple hook, and we'd take our fishing rods, which we checked out. They had their little sack there, had fishing rods and shotguns, and we'd check those fishing rods out, and we'd check shotguns out. We had to return them though after we got done. And I hunted ptarmigan, those Arctic birds that's got hair, that's got feathers, excuse me, on their feet where they can walk in the snow.
Yeah.
And then they turn granite color when it comes time, when the snow melts and you see all the rocks and stuff, they'll turn a granite color. And then when it comes another snow, then they'll turn back white. And you,
Yeah.
when that happens, they're hard to see when
Yeah.
they turn white.
What year did you get married?
Betty and I got married in 1963. It was a year after I was discharged from the military. I got out of the military in '62, and we married in September of '63. I left, when I got discharged from the military, I took a bus back. I was going to save money, and I took a bus back from Seattle, Washington. Of course, the military flew me into Seattle, and I had to process through Fort Lewis, and then I got me a bus ticket to St. Louis, Missouri, and I come back and got a bus from St. Louis. I had a Trailways bus that goes to the little town where my wife lived, and my aunt and uncle was sharecroppers for her dad. And I dropped by the highway there on the way. I hitchhiked to her house, and she answered the door. And I said, "Can I leave my duffel bag here while I walk up the road here to my aunt and uncle's?" And I told her who I was. And I left my duffel bag there, and we come back and picked it up later. Well, that's where it all started. And we've been together going on 61 years.
Yeah. She was a teacher at Clinton High School, right? At
She,
one point?
my wife was a teacher, a business education teacher at Clinton. She also taught in Missouri. And, she did a little teaching in Tucson. We lived in Tucson 14 years, Tucson, Arizona. And she did a little teaching there.
What made y'all want to move here to Clinton?
Her mother was getting up in years, and we had been in Tucson for 14 years, and we made our minds up that we need to be back a little closer to our mother, and so we did. We moved back, and I moved here because this is where my dad was from Formosa, right outside of Clinton, little town of Formosa. You know where that is? Going to Center Ridge. You better stay away from Center Ridge. You don't have to go to Center Ridge now. We can just forget all that. But anyway, it's we live on the number 9. They used to call it the Rum Run.
If you could give any advice to the younger generation now, what would it be?
Well, that's a pretty hard question.
Yeah.
In a way, I'm glad that you asked it. Like I was saying a while ago, I would advise the young folks now to avoid any mind-altering drugs, alcohol, It's not, it'll get you. I've seen my dad, my dad was in a car wreck that killed him. That's what took his life. I lost my dad when I was 18 months old. And he just got out with the wrong crowd. And watch who you mix and mingle with, you know. You know what I'm talking about. Your parents have advised you. But just stay away from those drugs, stay away from any mind-altering stuff there is. Try to do your best. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard in work. You say, well, I don't want to do that. Don't be lazy. Now work is good for you.
Yeah.
And help others when you can. And there's a lot of other things. It's a challenge being a young person nowadays, I know. But it's tough on you. Try to keep yourself as close to God as you can. What's that song? Count your blessings. And it's if you try, it'll pay off. Hard work pays off. Always keep in mind, though, yourself and others too. Always pray about decisions, that you're going to have some tough decisions to make, and always, my advice is for you just to be sure and pray about those decisions, and things will turn out. God has a plan for you, but you've got to confess with your mouth who He is, and you've got to believe. And you said something about 9/11. Did I?
Yeah. You have any stories about that?
I do have. I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad I thought to bring it up. We met some friends. We took a cruise, Alaskan cruise, for her retirement. When she retired, when Betty retired from Clinton High School, we took an Alaskan cruise, and we met two of the friendliest people, a man and his wife. And they were from the northern part of Ohio, and their daughter lived in New York, and their son-in-law got killed in the Twin Towers incident, and he was a fireman. He was with the Salem Fire Department, and he got killed and that day trying to save people. He didn't make it out, but he had a family. His wife, he had 4 boys, 5 boys already. They were Catholic, and anyway, and she was pregnant with a little girl, and he did. She was born, of course, after that. Everything's fine, and she still writes me and sends me cards, for Christmas, and tells about the kids, and they all turned out to just be wonderful kids. But she's excuse me. But she's really never had to worry about anything except for her husband. She never remarried. And she has taken care of the kids, and of course those funds that people sign in, like I say, take care of your neighbors if you know there's a need. And there was a lot of needs fulfilled through giving to the Twin Towers Fund, and she was well off after she got her part of what they made them. Distribute all those givings, all the money, monetary giving, and she got her part, so that really helped her. And a lot of people don't realize it. By giving, like even to the Samaritan's Purse, when you give to something, make sure you give to the right. Look it up. Make sure you give to the right organization, and somebody that won't take advantage of you.